Alright guys, so we went ahead and had our Jb4 installed. We're on our way down to AG Auto Sports to go ahead and throw this thing on the dyno. We did some previous dyno pulls with the car completely stock. The car is still completely stock other than the Jb4, so we're just going to do our Jb4 pulls right now. We're going to focus on the lower maps. When I purchased the Jb4, I knew it has the capability of running an ethanol or an ethanol blend. I don't have any desire to do that, so I'm going to stick with the lower maps. Maps 1, 2, and 3. Those are the ones that are designed for 93 octane. In this video, we're going to start with the baseline map 0, which is just the stock tune. So essentially it just bypasses the Jb4. So that'll just be a stock pull. And then since we're only going to do 3 pulls today, I'm just going to skip over map 1, go straight to map 2, and then do a pull of map 3. So part of the thing is that I've spoken to Berger about this multiple times. I've had the Jb4 installed for a couple weeks now, and to me it seems to be pretty, for lack of a better word, underwhelming. I've been in cars with Jb4s before. My buddy had a 335 with a Jb4 in it, and the difference between stock and the Jb4 was night and day. With this particular, maybe it's the platform, maybe something's go wrong. I just don't really feel much at all over stock. I don't really feel any difference between map 1, 2, and 3. In reading the logs, to me, I don't see really an increase in much boost. I see an increase to about 1 pound of boost on the data logs over stock. To give you a reference, map 2 is supposed to increase 3 pounds of boost over stock, and map 3 is supposed to go 4 pounds of boost over stock. After that, they recommend or require a ethanol or an ethanol blend to run higher than that. So in me reading the logs, I don't see an increase of 3 psi or 4 psi, but I have gone back and forth with Berger, and they read the logs themselves, and they tell me everything seems to be the way it's supposed to be and functioning. So we're going to go ahead and throw it on the dyno and see what happens. So that just feel like a stock pull. I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit spoiled. Maybe the difference with this car is it doesn't increase as much with different boost pressures, but it's not what I expected. So again, we're just going to throw it on the dyno. We're going to see. Maybe I'll end up eating my words. If it works out the way it's supposed to work and it's making the power it's supposed to make, and I just maybe it's smoother in this vehicle and I don't know, we'll go ahead and leave it in there. If not, we'll go ahead and send the ECU out for a tune and see what an actual ECU tune does, and go from there. So stay tuned, guys. We're going to go ahead and get this thing going, and we'll see what it does. I'm going to go ahead and make a guess, and I'm going to say it's going to pick up, I'm going to be nice and say 10 horsepower. So if you guys are Jb4 guys or something, I'm not biased here. I just want the car to be faster than what it was and get what I paid for. So stay tuned. We're on our way down to AG Auto Sports. We're gonna hit the dyno and let's see what happens. Yeah, he was doing it in 4th last time. Baseline map 0, 359. All right, guys, so you just saw that map 0 pull that we just did. I just want to add a little caveat before we go on to the different maps. As some of you guys know, we did some pulls on this car when it was still completely stock, with about 700 miles or so on there. And the stock numbers were all very, very consistent between torque numbers, at least between 330 and 335. The horsepower 354 on that Map Zero poll we just did was 359. That could just be because the motor was a little more broken in, so that few extra horsepower seems legit. The torque number that you saw in the Map Zero was down to 319. Not sure why. I'm not an expert at reading dyno charts or anything like that, but it appeared to me that it may have spun or something. The tires were a little moist when we got onto the dyno or something. So as a point of reference for this video, we're going to go ahead and use the 359 horsepower number that you just saw on Map Zero, and we'll go ahead and use 335 foot-pounds of torque, because that's what we had consistently ran on our first numbers. The horsepower increase is probably just due to the motor being broken in a little bit more. I did these first passes here at about 700 miles. And again, you know, just to be fair, so when you see the numbers as the reference numbers and increases or decreases or whatever may happen, we're going to go ahead and say 359 is the stock horsepower number to the wheels, and 335 foot-pounds of torque is the stock numbers to the wheels. So all these dynos and everything that we're going to be doing are going to be doing all on AG Autosports dyno, all under the same or similar conditions as close as we can get. Summertime, Florida, it's always hot, humid. And the DAs are always pretty high. I would say around 1,700. They get up to like 2,200 in the afternoon. So everything should be very, very consistent. And we'll go ahead and use those numbers. If you guys want to use the 319 number as your reference number, go for it. I'm going to go ahead and reference 335 as the number. So enjoy. Let's get back to it. Map 2. Back. We now have our APR Stage 1 93 octane tune on our ECU, and I've had the tune on the car for about a week. Unfortunately, it's summertime in Florida, and every single day it rains and rains and rains, and we haven't had much time to play around. So I got to drive this car for about 3 minutes before it started pouring, and it's just been sitting there, and I've kind of been like a little kid, just staring out the window, waiting for the rain to stop so I can take this thing out. We're gonna head down to the dyno in a couple hours. So the first non-4-letter word that comes to mind with this tune is incredible. This is exactly what I wanted and more. I mean, it is just, it's like driving a different vehicle. Everything from the sound of it, the intake sound, the exhaust sound, everything just sounds more aggressive, and it's just a monster. I'm so excited right now. Like, I've been like a little kid, just, it's like Christmas morning. It's like 8 o'clock in the morning. I don't have to go to the dyno till later on, and I just want to be out here and drive this thing before it starts raining again, because it's just insane. It's like a different car. I feel like, you know, I just got this car a few months ago, and I feel like I already have a brand new car again. So some of the features, you know, the reason I ended up doing APR is I did my research, and I realized the amount of R&D that those guys put into their tunes is just awesome, man. Like, that's what it's all about. As far as I know, they're the only tuner that has their own 718, that they tear the car down, they pull the motor, they put sensors from intake to exhaust. I think they said something like 26 additional sensors on the car, and then they just beat the hell out of it and just figure out all the thresholds, man. I've never seen a tuner do something like that. Most of the time you see tuners and a car comes onto the market, and it's just a rat race to see who can release the tune fastest. You know, APR's probably been doing about a year worth of R&D on that car before they released this tune. They've done track days on the car, multiple track days. I mean, if you can track a car, you can daily drive the thing with a tune on it, not worry about it. Quarter-mile pulls, they've done a want-to-go-fast half-mile in it. You know, the really cool features on this thing, I particularly only have the 93 octane tune on mine, but they also have a 91 octane, they have the 93, 100 octane, and 104 octane, and it's just, this 93 is just, oh, I love it! Let's chill that out before we go to jail. It's so fast, it feels so good. It's exactly what I wanted. The torque just feels ridiculous. Like, I can't imagine it's not doing at least another 50 or 60 foot-pounds of torque to the tires. Probably, I don't know about the horsepower. We're going to see when we put on the dyno in a couple hours. It's just awesome, man. I'm so excited right now. So some of the cool little features that I didn't even know they had on here is like, for example, your switch modes have different outputs. So when you're in regular mode, it's a different output. So it's still more than a stock output, but it's somewhere in between the Sport and Sport Plus and stock, which is really cool in case you don't want to just be out there just blowing the tires off the car at all times. Some of the other features, which that one's really cool, I didn't expect that. Another one I love, the auto start stop. They've inverted it, so now instead of having to turn your auto start stop off, it's automatically off, and if you want to use the auto start stop, you have to push the button to turn it on. That was really cool. The sound, the car just sounds different. The intake sound is so much more aggressive. It sounds like a dragon sucking in air. I don't even know how to explain it. It just sounds great, especially since the intake is right behind your driver's seat. The exhaust, there's much more pops and crackles. They adjust the exhaust flaps, have been altered to make a different sound, which is going to be awesome when I put the exhaust on here. Some of the safety features, you know, they adjust the water pump for the intercooler. They adjust the intercooler fans. The off-throttle torque reserve has been adjusted, and you know, I'm not a track guy, so that's something you track guys will really like. So it stays on that throttle response right off the go. The pedal mapping is also changed to where it feels like a more linear feel when you push onto the throttle. Makes it more responsive, makes it more, I guess for track guys, that's easier for you guys to kind of figure out how when you're going into a corner and whatnot. That's not my thing. I don't know too much about that. So some of the other stuff, like I said, the pedal mapping, the track testing, all that stuff. You know, this car is my first exotic car. I've never owned a Porsche before. You know, I've always been like kind of a muscle car guy. You know, and I've had a lot of tunes on different cars in the past. And it's not something that I take too lightly when it comes to tuning a car, because I feel like safety is very important. especially in a car like this, because it's, you know, it's a very high-end car. It's an expensive car, and I don't want to hurt anything. So I did a lot of research before I decided to go with APR, just knowing what they know. I didn't know too much about them until I spoke to a couple guys that have had APR tunes in the past, and I'm just blown away, man. It's so good. It's so good. I can't wait to get on the dyno. And like I said, this is what I expected from a tune, and then some. Oh, another cool thing, guys. I haven't had a chance to play with this too much, but APR sent me the dongle that they use. This plugs right into your OBD port. This will allow you to do data logging. You can send the data logs to APR. They can take a look at them if something's an issue, whatever it may be. Another cool thing is this allows you to, very similar to the Jb4. You know, the Jb4's got some really cool features too. It's just its own different thing. This allows you to fault codes. You can play with your fault codes. You can adjust your fault codes, turn them on and off, things like that. So I haven't really had too much time to play with that. Like I said, it's been raining since I got the tune done. This is the first time we've been out trying to play with it. And, you know, this is really what you're seeing. The reaction is about as much of a reaction, or as a virgin reaction as I've had. So I'm in love, man. Let me see if I can make a little U-turn here. Actually, it's an illegal U-turn. Don't tell anybody. And I'm gonna throw a little throttle in this thing, but Jesus, it is so good. It's so fast, it just rips through the tires. I got so excited I pushed my windshield wipers on. Oh God, it's so good, guys. I can't wait to get it out there and put it in Sport Plus and see what we can do. The throttle response is so good. It's so jumpy. The torque is just incredible. Alright guys, I'm going to go hit the dyno, stay tuned, and let's see what happens with it. Super excited, super stoked, and I know we're going to make some awesome power numbers. I'm going to make a prediction and say that this has got to be everywhere bit close to 400 wheel horsepower and 400 foot-pounds of torque. If it's less than that, I'd be surprised. If it's more than that, I will absolutely not be surprised at all. It just feels so much more than what we were getting from the stock. And stock, as you guys already know, is really awesome if you're driving one of these cars. So stay tuned, and here we go. APR Stage 1 93 octane tune. Round 2, we're hot lapping it. No cool down. This is about 60 seconds after the last run. So. APR Stage 1 93 octane tune. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go ahead and do a little quick recap of our tune comparison here on the 718 GTS. As you guys saw in the video, we did a max 359 wheel horsepower and 335 foot-pounds of torque from the completely stock car. Before we install the tunes, as I said, this car is completely stock other than the tunes for both systems. So we jumped up to the Jb4 map 2, 378 wheel horsepower, 354 foot-pounds of torque. Then we did a couple pulls in map 3, and we increased to 383 and 366. So again, we only did map 2s and 3s on that one because of the requirement to run an ethanol blend or a race fuel blend or something when you go above those maps. So the claim is 3 to 4 PSI from those two different maps. I just wasn't seeing it. I wasn't feeling it. The torque came in different. I guess the horsepower was more of a peak thing. It's just not something that was for me. You know, nothing against Burger or Jb4 or anything. You guys, if you like that and that's the type of system you want to run, then more power to you. Again, I'm not a biased person here. I'm just trying to get what I want out of this vehicle. So again, all these dynos and everything was done on the exact car, completely stock car other than the tunes, the exact dyno under almost identical conditions, very hot, humid South Florida summer days, all done within about a month of each other. DAs were all around 1700, probably got a little hotter. That was during the morning, maybe went up to 2000 or so. You know, those are the kind of conditions I like to test in because then we get some real world numbers. But then we installed the APR stage 1 93 octane, and goodness gracious, it's just a different vehicle. We're talking 410 horsepower to the wheels, 410 foot-pounds of torque. That's an increase of 51 wheel horsepower and 75 foot-pounds of torque from a little 2.5 liter turbo motor. I was just blown away. It's just a different vehicle, just the way the torque curves come in and everything. It was just exactly what I wanted and more. And again, I sound like I'm being biased, but I'm just telling you the honest truth here, guys. It's just a different animal. You know, not everything is going to be equal. So again, we picked up, actually, I have some quarter-mile videos. I didn't have time. I'm trying to keep this video as short as possible. To give you a little recap of that, on the Jb4 map 3, we picked up nearly 3 miles an hour in the quarter mile. So I was actually a little bit impressed with that. It was great. I didn't have any traction issues or anything like that. The car just launched and went. And it was a decent increase from what you would expect from, you know, the horsepower numbers that it did increase. Now on the APR stage 1 93 octane, we did increase 6 miles an hour in the quarter mile. And that was with some traction issues. I was feathering the throttle a little bit. Hot, humid summer nights in Florida, tracks are usually pretty moist. And I have no doubt in my mind that it's going to do more than that when we get out there with some traction. So that's our next step, guys. We're going to go ahead and throw these R888Rs on there, figure out a way to heat them up and go back up to the track and see if we can get a bottom 11. We're running low 11s right now on just a stock tire. I think this car will go 11.1, 11.2 just the way it sits if we can get some traction on there. And then we're going to go ahead and throw our Armatrix downpipe on there. We're going to have APR do their magic on the tune again. To match that downpipe and go back up again. And I have no doubt in my mind that with that downpipe, the APR stage 2 still on 93 octane, and these R888 tires, I have no doubt in my mind that we're going to run 10s in the quarter mile with that. So stay tuned, guys. We'll get our quarter mile passes and race videos up, and enjoy. Thanks to everyone for watching.